On the first day of Aincrad, Kaiba made his infamous announcement of the death game. Not every player reacted to this announcement the same way, and there was a divide in the actions that they took afterwards. We know that Kirito set out immediately for the next town away from the starting one. This was in an attempt to level efficiently without being contested by the other players. And we know that Klein stayed behind in order to lead his guild-friends through this scary and frantic beginning. But what about Asuna? What did she do? Remember, Asuna had no gaming experience prior to entering Sword Art Online. So how exactly did she survive this chaotic time that was the beginning of the game? Well, at first she panicked, but not immediately for the same reason as most of the other players. As I mentioned in my previous video, at this point in time, Asuna only lived to achieve the perfect ideal future that was expected of her. She didn't really know of anything else, as thus far her whole life had been spent being on that track. So when Kaiba made the announcement, the first thing that occurred to her was that she would not be able to complete her maths assignment on time. That may sound silly to me or you, but to Asuna this was a terrifying realization. She had never missed a deadline in her whole life, not even once, and now not only would she miss this one, but potentially many others as well. She was being thrown off the track of perfect education that she had so far spent her whole life on. Losing that traditional ideal future which had been her only purpose in life was horrifying to her. But not just that, the thought of how her parents, and especially her mother, would react completely shook her to her core, as her mother in particular was extremely strict on Asuna's path of traditional good education, to the point where it was unclear for a while whether she was doing this for Asuna's sake, or for her own satisfaction of being able to brag about Asuna to her colleagues and extended family at family gatherings, like some sort of living trophy. Because of this strict treatment, Asuna was sure her mother wouldn't be concerned about the safety of her trapped daughter, but rather be disappointed in Asuna, who would have failed her examinations due to a games console. So while others made their way into the fields or perhaps would gambit on dashing for the next town like Kirito, Asuna, who had no gaming experience whatsoever, would use her starting money to rent out an inn in the town of beginnings. There she would await and pray for outside assistance to come and free the player base. Asuna was not alone in doing this, and in fact, this is what the vast majority of the SAO player base did. As SAO is a hard game, why go out into the field to take on gruesomely realistic monsters who took on a whole nother level of scary, when death in the game meant actual death in real life? When instead you could just await safely in the town of beginnings for outside help. After all, Kaiba did inform the players in his speech that the world was aware of their situation. The government was surely doing everything in their power to find a solution in order to free them all, so until then, it was better just to not risk dying and wait for it to happen. However, this posed a unique problem to Asuna. Now in this isolation, she would be completely alone with nothing but her thoughts, and those thoughts dwelled on her increasingly unpleasant reality that I mentioned earlier. With every minute, every day, every week that went by without any help arriving, Asuna's perfect traditional ideal future slipped further and further out of her hands. Every moment that passed in this isolation, anxiety and stress mounted for Asuna, to the point where at night she would have trouble sleeping under such emotional duress, and when sleep would finally take her, it would be accompanied by vicious nightmares due to her poor mental state. Suffice to say, under these conditions, Asuna found her sanity slipping. She would find herself beating into the walls and screaming out to maybe some sort of divine higher power that could come and whisk her away from this dreadful situation. Enough was enough, she just couldn't take it anymore, and thus she arrived at a decision. She left the inn and decided to cut her own path, not waiting to be rescued but instead to escape with her own strength. Additionally, if she managed to become the savior who freed everyone from this hell in which they were trapped in, then maybe, just maybe, she could use that news to recover some favor with her mother, to show that she did do everything that she could in order to get out quickly. And so, after preparing some equipment, Asuna would memorize the entire reference manual. Remember, she had no previous gaming experience, so this was necessary in order to know how to get a footing in this world. After that, she would depart for the field. There she would single-mindedly and fanatically grind to increase her strength, to such an extreme that she would only allow for the minimal possible time to sleep in order to function, which was just a measly 2 to 3 hours. Every single other second of the day would be put towards increasing her strength and clearing the game. This fanatical and borderline crazy approach to clearing Aincrad would see Asuna ascend to among the top ranks of the frontliners in a relatively short period of time. It was from this relentless push to clear Aincrad and get stronger that Asuna would gain her reputation as Asuna, the Flash. Thanks for watching. This is the second video in a run of videos I plan to do on Asuna and what has basically become Asuna month for my channel. I hope you guys managed to find this information on what happened to Asuna during the first day of Aincrad interesting, as I know I was really surprised when I was reading it. Did you guys expect Asuna to be one of the people who stayed behind in the Town of Beginnings during the start of SAO? And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of Asuna month or more content like this. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.